Hello, my name is Ryan Messer, and you're listening to the Life is a Mess podcast. I hope you had an absolutely fantastic week. I've got some big news for y'all, and it is that I'm in the process right now of getting this podcast onto all streaming platforms that include Spotify, Apple Music, and any other ones that I may not think about, but those are the first ones that come to my mind. And I'm a few days behind, but this podcast has been running for over a month now. And honestly, I'm blown away and ecstatic to say that. So I want to take a second to thank all of you so much for listening. And when I started, I was not sure that if anyone would listen, and honestly, y'all have, and it means so much to me. I can't even sit here and describe to you how much it actually means to me that y'all do, and the feedback that I've gotten from every one of y'all. And so, again, there's been a lot of positive feedback, and it means so much to me that y'all have been able to make this small dream that I had become sort of a reality. And again, I hope to keep putting out great content for y'all, and I hope that I'm able to get it out to way more people moving forward. So, with all of this being said, I'd like to move on to this week's quote. It is, don't compare yourself to others. Compare yourself to the person you were yesterday. So, this quote came to me when I was looking at how far I've came in the past 3 months, 6 months, and year, and so on. So, I've done a bunch of things, and, there's things that I've regressed on in this past however long, but there's a lot of things that I've done great. And especially these past 3 months, I've worked really hard on myself. And I think that, again, I worked on myself, not worked on other people to work on myself. I'll get back to that in a minute. But, this came to me when I was sitting here comparing myself, and I was like, man, I've came a long ways, but it's only the beginning. And yes. So if you've been listening to this podcast, listening along with all my other podcasts, you'll know that I strive every single day to be 1% better. So this means that I'm comparing myself today to myself yesterday and realizing that I've progressed, and I'm a way better person for it. And I think that if you compare yourself to others, then it's impossible to feel the gratitude when you finally hit your goals or finally get to that, next step in your life. And the reason I say this is because when you accomplish something, you're ecstatic. You're like, woohoo, good job for myself. But then you realize the person next to you has already, been there and moved forward and have already, accomplished that goal. And it diminishes its significance in your mind and to what you think, because, when people, again, whenever I hit a PR or have a goal of mine get reached, I'm like, man, I did a good job. And then, it slowly fades away when I look at social media and I'm like, man, that guy just lifted 600, 700 pounds and I'm, not lifting anywhere close to that. But in all reality, I shouldn't compare myself at all to that person. I should sit here and think, I did something better than I was yesterday. And so therefore I'm progressing. So, the diminishing factor is a huge deal. And honestly, this is the root of why comparing yourself to anyone else is not a good thing. And so not only does it affect how you feel when you succeed, it also makes you way more upset when you have a failure or setback. So it is easy to post everything that I've done, and it's honestly easy for you to post everything that you've done. But it's really hard to post something when you fail. And I'm not sitting here saying you should. By no means am I sitting here saying that. But I'm getting to a point here is, when you fail, you think of it as a bad thing, as something wrong. But like I mentioned last week, it's not failures aren't always a bad thing. So here's something funny is, I can't recall a time that I posted one of my failures. And again, I've had social media for going on 6 or 7 years at the very least, and not a single time have I posted something where I've failed. But I can sure tell you the last time that I did fail. And honestly, it wasn't too long ago. And what I'm getting at is, if people don't sit here and post everything they fail because it makes them look bad. And like I mentioned, I'm not sitting here saying you should post everything, but when you go on social media and say have 50, 60, 70 people that you follow, or way more than that, you can eventually find someone that's progressed more than you have. And again, they failed too, but in your mind, you sit there and think, oh man, they haven't, their life must be perfect because they're sitting there, they're hitting their goals. And I'm hitting, a couple goals, but not a ton of them. So, you know, that's one of my biggest issues with it, is because if you see yourself and realize how far you've come, it is so rewarding to think about, you know, I've became way better a person. And, I feel like when you compare yourself to yourself, it's the only way you can find happiness and, progress in your life. Because when you're sitting here, I think happiness comes with progress. And if you're sitting here comparing yourself with someone else that has better quote unquote progress than you, you're not going to be happy. And so therefore it's a brutal cycle of not getting anywhere with your life. So here's one of my favorite things when it comes to comparing myself to myself, that is, that has me completely different than a lot of other people, is that my goals are different. My goals are completely different than the person next to me. And I'm not sitting here diminishing their goals. I'm not sitting here saying that my goals are better than theirs or even vice versa. But the thing is I've been through different things in my life than the person next to me. And even people that are really, really close to me have had completely different things happen in their life because I'm not with them 24/7. And, I think about things different than them. And so therefore my goals are smaller compared to someone else's, or maybe way bigger than compared to someone else's. But the thing is they're my goals. They're not anyone else's goals. And so I think, for example, one of the things that comes to mind when I think about this is, I was always told as a kid that, if I did good, if I did absolutely everything I could in a class and I still didn't do good in the class, I did everything I could. That I should be happy with that. I worked my tail off and I did the best I could. But the person next to me might think, I got an A in the class and it was easy, but you didn't do everything you could. You could have got, I guess an A is as high as you can get, but you could have got a better grade than that. And you would have looked better overall for it. But that's the thing, is my goal of doing the best I can in the class and, maybe barely squeaking by is different than the person next to me. And so, again, a real life example is, when I get a good grade on a test, I'm excited, I'm happy, woohoo. But the person next to me might be happy that they're just passing the class, period. They may just be excited that they've finally got their grade up. And the person next to him or her might even be happy that they showed up to class, period. And I've seen this happen actually numerous times where people are just like, man, I'm glad I made it to class. And, it's the little things that add up to the bigger picture that create happiness overall. And these little things can only be seen by you, and people won't look at them. They only see the big things. You only get praise when you do great things. So, with all that being said, I'm going to present this week's challenge. And I guess it's a month-long challenge, but it's this week's challenge specific. So think about where you were mentally and physically last month, and look at who you are now. Write down if you feel like you've progressed or regressed, and whichever is what happened or what you think has happened, try to change that for next month. If you think you've progressed, progress even more. Keep going. Don't stop. But if you've regressed or went back, think, hey, I need to kick it in gear and try and beat out this month's self next month. So with all that being said, I'm going to wrap up this week's podcast with that. And as always, thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have an amazing week. I also hope you have an amazing Thanksgiving. Make sure you spend time with your loved ones and, make those memories, because one day you may not be able to make those memories, and it's going to be a big deal to you. So again, get out there, kick this week's butt, and have a great time. Goodbye.